The room was too bright. Anita sat still in the glass-walled conference room, hands folded neatly in her lap. Her heart thudded behind her ribs like it was trying to escape. Across the table, 3 panelists smiled politely. Beside her, Crystal Moore flashed her perfect white teeth, full of charm, confidence, and something colder beneath. "So," one of the panelists began, "tell us how you two know each other." Crystal laughed lightly, as if she'd been waiting for that question. "Oh, Anita? She's my cousin. We grew up together. Well, kind of. She came from Nigeria when we were teenagers. Still has the accent, too," she added with a grin. Anita's smile stayed fixed, quiet and calm. Her back was straight, but her hands clenched slightly under the table. "Oh, it's lovely," one of the panelists said quickly, trying to smooth the moment. Another chuckled, unsure. Crystal leaned back in her seat like she owned the place. "She's the quiet one in the family. Always has been. Super smart, though. Just takes her a while to warm up. Right, Anita?" Anita turned to her cousin with the same calm expression, not saying a word. She looked back at the panel. Still quiet. Just breathing. Just waiting. One of the panelists shifted in his chair, glancing between the 2 women. "Well, Anita, we'd love to hear from you directly. Why don't you tell us a bit about your experience?" There was a pause. Anita sat up just a little taller. Her voice, when it came, was soft but steady, her accent clear and warm. "Thank you for the opportunity," she began. "I've worked in media research and content planning for 5 years. I love what I do. I believe stories shape how we see each other, and how we see ourselves." The room went quiet, really quiet. The tone had shifted. The panelists leaned in a little. Crystal blinked, her smile faltering for the first time. "I built audience models that increased viewer engagement by 30% over 2 years, Anita continued. "And I've led cross-cultural campaigns that reached over 1 million viewers." She didn't rush. Every word was careful, precise. The silence in the room now held respect, not discomfort. When she finished, one of the panelists nodded slowly. "Impressive," he said. Anita smiled again. This time, it was for her. Anita came to the United States when she was 14. Everything felt different. The food, the weather, the people, even the way they smiled. But what stood out the most was how people reacted to her voice. Her accent made them pause, sometimes laugh, sometimes frown like she'd said something wrong. In school, kids mimicked her behind her back. Sometimes, they didn't even bother whispering. She tried to adjust, to fit in. She practiced words in front of the mirror, watched TV to copy how people spoke. Still, someone always found a way to remind her she sounded off. At home, it wasn't much better. Her aunt would say, "Try to speak more clearly, like Crystal." Crystal was the star of the family. She was born in the US, always dressed right, spoke right, said the clever things that made adults laugh. Anita would sit quietly while Crystal told stories at family events, soaking up the praise. Their parents compared them often. Crystal was outgoing and American enough. Anita was too quiet, too shy, still learning. But her father, he was different. He used to hold her hand and say, "Your voice is not a weakness, my daughter. Let the world speak. You just show them who you are." He believed in listening first, acting second. He taught her how to observe, how to carry herself with calm. He died when she was 16. After that, the silence around her felt heavier. Now Anita was 28. She had a degree in communications, years of work experience, but no job for the past year. The company she worked for closed during budget cuts. Since then, she'd been applying quietly, getting rejection after rejection. Her mother, still working double shifts at the nursing home, reminded her every week, "You are not a child anymore. Do something." So Anita taught math and writing to kids in the neighborhood. Parents paid her in small bills, sometimes with food. She told no one, not even her mother. It wasn't shame, just exhaustion. She lived alone in a small apartment where the heat rattled and the ceiling dripped when it rained. She kept the place neat, filled with books and old pictures of her dad. Some days, she felt like she was disappearing. Crystal reached out 2 months ago. Her text had been short but sweet. "Hey cuz, there's an opening at my job. Thought of you. Let me know if you want me to pass along your resume." Anita hesitated. Something in her stomach turned when she read it. But she replied politely, "Thanks. I'd appreciate that." Crystal set everything up fast. She helped prepare Anita, coached her like she was doing her a big favor. But Anita noticed how Crystal spoke during those calls, like a teacher correcting a student. "Speak with more energy," she'd say. "Maybe leave out that internship in Nigeria. It's too far back." Anita nodded along. She didn't argue. But inside, something was cracking. The night before the interview, Crystal called again. "You've got this, girl," she said. "Just remember not to get too quiet. They like confidence." Her tone was sweet, but her words poked. Anita thanked her again. When she hung up, she sat alone at her kitchen table. Her tea had gone cold. Outside, the street was quiet. She looked at her reflection in the dark window. Then she whispered to herself, "I am not broken. I am just quiet. She didn't know if anyone else believed that. But tomorrow, maybe she'd start to. The interview moved along quickly. Crystal answered every question with ease, smiling and joking as if she'd known the panel for years. Anita sat beside her, nodding when needed, listening carefully. She knew this was Crystal's comfort zone, crowded rooms, all eyes on her, words flowing fast and smooth. So, one of the panelists asked, "Can you tell us about a time your team handled a difficult client?" Crystal laughed before Anita could speak. "Oh, there was this one time. We were on a video call, and Anita accidentally called a woman sir the whole time." She turned to the panel, eyes wide with humor. "It was so awkward. The client didn't say anything, but afterward, I had to gently correct her." The panel chuckled politely, though one of them looked uncomfortable. Anita kept her face still. Inside, her stomach turned. She remembered that day. It had been her first client call in a new job. She'd been nervous. The client's name was Neutral Taylor. The video had kept cutting. No one corrected her until after. Crystal wasn't even on that call. "She's smart, though," Crystal added quickly. "Really detail-oriented. Just a little shy, you know?" Anita felt the heat rise in her face, but she didn't say a word. Her fingers rested calmly on her notebook. Her eyes, however, told a different story. She looked at the panel, steady, unreadable. Then she looked at Crystal, just for a moment. There was no anger, just quiet disappointment. The panel lead cleared his throat. "Well, thank you for sharing that, Crystal. Anita, we'd love to hear from you directly." The room went still. Anita looked at each panelist before speaking. When she did, her voice was soft but clear. "In my previous role," she began, "I led a content team through a 3-month brand audit. We discovered that our messaging missed a key audience, first-generation immigrants. I designed a strategy to include more diverse voices. Our campaign reached over 1.2 million views in 6 weeks. Her words were slow, careful, and full of meaning. I believe in listening to clients, to users, to the people we're trying to reach. When people feel seen, they connect. That's where growth begins." The room had changed. The panelists weren't just hearing her, they were listening. One leaned forward, another nodded slowly. Anita glanced briefly at Crystal. Her cousin's smile was tight now, almost frozen. "I may not speak the loudest," Anita said, "but I speak with purpose. And I always deliver." Silence followed, thick, thoughtful silence. Then one panelist said, "Thank you, Anita. That was very insightful." Another added, "I'd like to hear more about your campaign experience." Crystal said nothing. Her eyes flicked down to her lap. Anita didn't gloat. She simply smiled again, small, calm, and real. This time, the moment was hers. After the interview, Crystal acted like everything was normal. She smiled on the way out, chatted in the lobby, even offered Anita a ride home. Anita said no, choosing instead to take the train. She needed the silence. She needed space to breathe. 2 days later, Anita got the email, second-round interview. Just her name. No mention of Crystal. She stared at the screen for a long time. A part of her was proud. Another part was nervous. And then there was Crystal. That evening, her phone buzzed. A message from her cousin. "Congrats, cuz. Just remember who got your foot in the door." Anita didn't reply right away. She read the message again and again. It didn't feel like support. It felt like a warning. Later that week, Crystal called. "So," she began, "you're going to the next round. That's great. I mean, I pushed for you. I told them you'd be good." "You're welcome." Anita said, "I appreciate the referral, but I earned the call back." There was a pause. Then Crystal laughed softly. "Of course. Just don't forget who brought you in." Those words sank into Anita's chest like a stone. She remembered other moments. Years ago, in middle school, Anita won a writing contest. The story was about home, written in her own voice. At a family party, Crystal had stood up and read part of it aloud, acting like she helped write it. Everyone clapped. Anita had stayed quiet. Then there was the time Anita got the highest math score in her class. At dinner, her aunt told Crystal, "See? You're such a good influence on your cousin." Anita's achievement became Crystal's credit. She also remembered sitting at a family gathering, trying to share a story, only for an uncle to stop her. "Talk slower," he said. "We can't understand you with that thick tongue." Laughter followed. Her mother didn't say anything. No one did. That night, she cried into her pillow and promised to stop speaking so much. Now, years later, things hadn't changed as much as she'd hoped. On social media, Crystal started posting small things, little digs that weren't direct, but everyone could read between the lines. Some people forget who helped them level up. It's okay. God sees. Just because you spoke well once doesn't make you a leader. Friends commented with fire emojis and "yes, girl." Crystal liked every one. Anita didn't respond, but it hurt. Their mothers started talking too. Crystal's mom called Anita's mom, annoyed. "Your daughter is acting proud now? After all we've done." Anita's mother sighed when she brought it up. "Just let it go," she told Anita. "Keep the peace. You know how family is." Anita sat still. She's lying about me. Her mother's voice was tired. So, you know the truth. Why fight over small things? They're not small. She's your cousin. I know. Her mother looked at her with worry. Don't start trouble. That's not how you were raised. Anita looked away. She thought of her father, his calm voice. But he had also told her not to let people shrink her. That night, Anita stood in front of her bathroom mirror. She stared at her reflection and spoke out loud, not yelling, just speaking. She repeated her own name over and over. She said her story, her work, her plans. No one interrupted. No one corrected her. The next morning, she posted her own message online. I don't owe my voice to anyone. I owe it to the girl who kept quiet for too long. No hashtags, no drama, just truth. She felt something shift inside. Not anger, not pride, just power. For the first time in years, Anita didn't feel like she was shrinking. She felt like she was starting to take up space. The second round interview was quieter. Fewer people, more serious questions. Anita was ready. She walked in wearing a deep blue blazer her mother once bought her for church. It still fit, and today it felt like armor. They asked about leadership, failure, strategy. Anita didn't rush her answers. She took her time. She spoke clearly, her voice low but strong. She mentioned real results, told honest stories, and didn't try to impress. She just told the truth. When it ended, one of the panelists, an older woman with kind eyes, walked with her to the elevator. I shouldn't say this, the woman began quietly, but I think you should know. Crystal said some disappointing things about you before the first round. She painted a picture that didn't match what we saw in you. Anita stood still. What kind of things? The woman sighed. That you were hard to work with, that your communication skills were weak. But your presence told a different story. Anita swallowed hard. Thank you for telling me. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She simply nodded and walked out of the building, her heels clicking softly on the tile floor. Outside, the sky was cloudy but clear. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with something sharper. A line had been crossed. That evening, the family gathered for dinner at her aunt's house. The living room was loud, full of voices and smells of fried plantain and jollof rice. Laughter bounced off the walls. Crystal was there, of course, smiling, joking, pouring drinks like nothing had happened. Anita watched her from across the room. She waited until people were sitting down, food on plates, the noise settling. She stood up. The room didn't go silent at first. But slowly, people noticed. Crystal, Anita said, her voice calm. Her cousin looked up, surprised. Yes, cuz? You told the panel I was hard to work with. The room froze. Crystal blinked. What? Who said that? One of the panelists told me. After my second interview. The one you weren't invited to. People looked around, confused. Her aunt opened her mouth, but Anita raised a hand, not to silence, but to continue. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to speak. Because for years I didn't. Her voice didn't rise, but it filled the room. I stayed quiet when you took credit for my writing. I stayed quiet when people laughed at how I speak. I stayed quiet when you told that interview story to make me look foolish. Crystal looked around nervously, forcing a smile. It was just a joke. No, Anita said, softly but clearly. It wasn't. And you knew it. The room was now completely still. Even the children stopped whispering. I stayed quiet to survive, Anita said, eyes fixed on her cousin. Now I'm speaking to live. Crystal opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Anita continued, voice steady. You thought silence was weakness. It's not. It's strength. It's choosing not to fight a battle that doesn't deserve you. But tonight, I'm choosing me. Crystal's face changed. Her usual smile disappeared. She stood up fast, grabbed her purse, and walked out without a word. No one followed. Anita stood there for a moment longer, then sat down. No one clapped. No one spoke. But the silence in the room was different this time. It wasn't awkward. It was respect. A week later, Anita got the call. The job was hers. She didn't shout or jump up and down. She just closed her eyes and smiled. Quiet joy, the kind that grows deep and steady. After the call ended, she sat by the window and let the sunlight hit her face. It felt like a fresh start. In the weeks that followed, things changed slowly but surely. She found a small but bright apartment across town. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. Clean walls, new light, her books on the shelves. No more leaky ceiling. No more noise from upstairs. She painted the walls a soft yellow and bought a plant for the windowsill. She named it Zuri. She also started something new, something that scared her, but excited her more. A mentorship group for immigrant women like herself. They met online at first, then in person at a local library. They shared stories, helped each other with interviews, resumes, and confidence. The first meeting, Anita almost backed out. But when she saw the faces on the screen, nervous, curious, hopeful, she remembered her younger self. The girl who thought her voice was a problem. She smiled and said, "Welcome. Let's speak boldly, even if we speak softly." People listened, and then they started speaking too. At home, something shifted with her mother. One night, Anita came over for dinner. After they ate, her mom brought out an old photo of Anita and her father. "You have his quiet," her mother said, not looking up. "But you have more courage than both of us." Anita was surprised. "I thought you wanted me to be more like Crystal." Her mother shook her head slowly. "No, I just wanted you to be safe. I thought silence would protect you. But I see now, it also kept you small." Anita nodded, eyes soft. "I used to think that too." They didn't talk for hours. Just enough. For the first time, the silence between them felt like peace, not distance. Anita wasn't perfect. Some days she still doubted herself. Some days she still heard the old voices in her head. But now she had new ones too, her own. Stronger. Clearer. She didn't need to be loud to take up space. She just needed to be real. The morning air was cool, just enough to wake the skin. Anita stepped out of the train and walked the last few blocks to the office. Her new work ID hung on a lanyard in her bag untouched. She wanted to feel this moment before anything official began. She stood outside the tall glass building for a second. The city moved around her, cars, footsteps, voices. But she felt calm. She took a deep breath, touched the gold ring on her finger, her father's old one, and stepped inside. The lobby was quiet. Clean floors, soft lights, the smell of coffee nearby. A woman at the front desk looked up and smiled. "Hi there. Name, please?" Anita stepped forward, shoulders relaxed, head held high. "Anita Johnson," she said. Her accent was soft, natural. She didn't change it, didn't hide it. "I'm here for the future." The receptionist typed something, then smiled wider. "Welcome, Ms. Johnson. Elevators to your left. They're expecting you." Anita thanked her and walked toward the elevator. Her heels clicked gently on the tile. She didn't rush. Each step felt steady, full. As the elevator doors closed behind her, she saw her reflection in the mirror-like surface. Not the nervous girl from before. Not the quiet cousin who stayed in the background. This was her moment, and she didn't need to raise her voice to own it. "Hey besties, thanks so much for watching till the end. If you loved Anita's journey from silence to strength, hit that like button, share with your friends, and drop a comment below. Was Crystal out of line or what? Don't forget to subscribe for more emotional, drama-filled stories just like this one. You won't want to miss what's coming next. See you in the next one. Bye!